Welcome to Life Is, a proud part of the Bethel University Clarion podcast network. I'm co-host Zach Walker.
And I'm co-host Abby Pautz. Today, life is boring. We'll talk about if we'll get to have that summer potluck, seeing boredom as an invitation, and state fair seed art.
We'll discuss Christmas music, summer weddings, and the elite competitive all-male dodgeball league.
And even though we're supposed to be talking about boring stuff, we'll probably idle on about other things and maybe talk to some folks over at the award-winning Clarion newsroom.
Because life is boring, but life is everything else too.
Life is drops now.
Wow, that was the best.
That was terrible. All right, Zach, here's a question.
Hit me.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's the most boring event you've ever gone to? What about maybe this? Maybe let's do this. What's the most boring event you've ever paid to go to? Because like you could say like, oh, my like fifth cousin's wedding, barely knew them. Like, what's an event you paid to go to that ended up just being terrible?
Oh my gosh. I maybe just have like a really good eye for decent events and I don't pay for like bad stuff. But gosh, I remember going as a kid. I didn't pay for this, but like I had to get a ticket, but I was like my buddy's dad paid for us. We went to a big gun show in the in like the state fair like auditorium where the horses are.
Oh, okay.
And we went there, and it's just a bunch of guys at tables with guns that are way too expensive behind the counter. And I remember,
and that's they just show them.
Well, yeah, you can buy them. You can buy them, but like I was a child, so I didn't have any gun money, any money to spend on that. But I remember like they would sell like old baseball cards and stuff too, which I was super into. Just but they wouldn't like
gun show for baseball
for knives, guns, and old baseball cards. But I'm trying to think if I've ever paid for just a terribly boring event. Gosh, I don't think. Here's something that you'd think would be a boring event, but it's actually extremely great.
Oh, okay.
Do you go to the state fair? Are you a state fair fan? Minnesota? Okay. Hopefully that still goes on, but probably it won't.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
I think summer's ruined if that doesn't go on.
If you go into it's like the craft building.
Yep.
Where they have all the the woodwork and the
by the grandstand,
the quilts and all of that.
Yep.
There is a bakery section, and the seed art. Sam said there's something called seed art.
I love seed art, or like the corn art, the corn kernel art. It's amazing. Come on, these are artists.
They are artists. They're the greatest artists of our generation.
They are. They're so cool. It's just like farmers have these extra kernels or extra seeds, and they decide to make it a masterpiece.
Requirement like you have to you have to use your own seeds.
Yeah. You can't buy seeds. They're left over.
What are you being serious?
Kidding. No. Okay. I don't know the rules.
Okay. You're the head of the...
I entered a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Realized I needed a farm.
The seed art committee. So if you go to the bakery section, one, it's just cool to see, like, to know that this is a big deal. Like, people go from county fairs all the way up to the state fair level
I know.
to have a slice of bread in a glass case
Yeah.
and judged. But when I went last year, it was the first time that I went into the bakery section. The best thing to see is that there is absolutely state fair baking politics going on. Because if you look at the winners, there is, at least when I went, there was one woman who won like 10 bakery awards in different categories. Her name, I believe her name was like Diane or something, or maybe I'm getting her confused with the number one Candy Crush player.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, never trust a Diane.
Maybe they're the same person.
Probably.
But we'd go and it'd be like cinnamon buns, blue ribbon, Diane. And then we'd go around and it would be like rye bread, blue ribbon, Diane. And I'm just thinking, like, these other bakers must hate Diane.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
they get the results and they're like, oh, of course, Diane again, coming in here with her cinnamon buns. She probably thinks she's so hot. So that was by far the best experience that I've ever had at the state fair, is looking through and seeing Diane winning all of her cinnamon buns.
I think people miss out on so many things at the state fair.
At the state fair, what are your go-to state fair attractions or like places to go?
My family always does the giant slide, and it seems like simple.
A waste of money.
Oh no, it is fun. You get like some air. It is like I scream. I literally will scream going down it because I get scared. I love it.
You scream every time?
Yeah.
Like you go every single year. But it always surprises you.
It does, because I always think like, oh, here we go again. Like it's just a slide, whatever. But it's fast. You go fast.
How are you not mentally prepared? It's not like it's
I don't
changing.
know. I know. I just am like, okay, like maybe it'll be different this year. Maybe it'll be slower. It's scary.
How would it be slower?
I don't know. That's just what I think. I like to think it'll just be smooth sailing, and then I get some air and I get a little frightened. But it's fun.
Oh, I wonder if there's ever been like really bad accidents from the giant slide.
Maybe like somebody tripped on the stairs going up.
That absolutely is it. I bet nobody has ever been injured going down the slide part. No. Somebody tripped and like busted their kneecap or something.
I bet you could get a really bad floor burn if you fell off the little like sack that they give you to slide down.
Oh yeah. That would be really terrible. Bad. Oh, and because it's like that plastic material that your skin is getting right caught on that sucker.
Ew.
Do you have any other favorite? Is it just the giant slide? Do you have any other favorite attractions?
I love, so the food's good. The food's fine. Whatever.
It's fine. It's great.
No, it is. But I think you don't go there for the food. You go there for the experience. It's like going on a vacation for a day. Like you're a tourist for a day. Like you can people watch. You can try all these new things. You get to see animals. The animals make me a little sad, but it's fine.
My dad's favorite part is by far the animals. I would go every year with my dad and a friend growing up. And my dad's one thing that we had to do was we had to go through all the animal barns.
Yeah.
I could go on whatever ride I wanted. I could have whatever food I wanted. We had to go through all the animal barns and see the cows looking at a wall. And
it's sad.
That's what we did.
I really like the baby animal center.
The Miracle of Birth Center.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I think there are a bunch of liars in there. I've never seen an animal be born. Have you ever seen an actual birth in there?
Well, no, but one was happening. We weren't going to stay. I think that's rude to stay. Well, it is like people are gathering around. okay, I'm vegetarian. I have a really high respect for animals. I think humans and animals were created equal and we're supposed to be caretakers
Yeah.
of the animals.
Yeah.
And
You're a real patron saint in that
yes,
regard.
thank you.
Yeah.
And so I personally, if I was giving birth, wouldn't want the crowd of Minnesotans standing around me with their Skechers shoes and fanny packs watching me at an very difficult time, just standing around me. So I'm not gonna watch this poor
What?
cow. But
How else you?
my mom grew up on a farm and she says it's amazing how the calf is born and they just start walking right away. She thinks it's awesome, but she's also a South Dakota farm girl, thinks that
Well,
stuff's cool.
here's the thing. How else are you going to get emotional support during birth if you don't have
All
hundreds of
all those
Minnesotans
people,
around you? That's what I'm saying. If I gave birth, which
you would
I don't
want that?
want to, here's something. Here's something that I believe. One, I wish humans could lay eggs. That's a hot take. I think if humans laid eggs, it'd just be a great time. maybe the males lay eggs. Like women they give birth however. It's
So
to
like
say
eggs that can create life or just like eggs that are just eggs. You can't do anything with them. You can't even eat them.
the
Like they're just
Cadbury
Cadbury
cream,
eggs.
like human size. They'd be like this big.
Well,
That'd be great.
that wasn't boring.
It wasn't. All right, next up to the podcast, we have Bethel Professor of Philosophy, Dr. Sarah Shady. Thanks for coming on, Sarah.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you.
inviting me. I was really excited to get the invitation.
Of course. So tell us first a little bit, just what does a normal day look like for you now in quarantine?
Oh, well, my description of my normal day will help you understand why I was so excited to get an invitation to do something new. My alarm goes off at 7:15, at which point I walk into the kitchen where the coffee maker has been programmed to have coffee ready. The first couple hours of the morning involve getting my kids started on their schoolwork for the day, walking our dog, walk about a mile a day in the morning, eating breakfast, and then getting started in my work. And I work really mostly from 9 to 3 or 9 to 4, at which point then we think about what should we eat for dinner, maybe take a second walk, and then decide after dinner if we're going to do a family board game or watch a show. And then it's like repeat again the next day for like, now I'm on like day 47 or 48 since my spring break ended abruptly.
Yeah. I think last recording, Sam mentioned that like 2 days ago or something, it was like 50 days since Bethel went online.
Yeah.
And that was like a shocking number to me because it
Yeah.
seems like
Yeah.
it seems like it's been both 3 days and an eternity since we've gone online.
No, exactly. I feel like it's been like this forever, and yet how can we only have 2 weeks of classes left? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's possible.
Exactly.
So what kind of coffee maker do you have that programs it to be ready for you?
It's not that fancy. And I'm trying to think if the brand is like maybe Cuisinart, but I mean, I don't think we spent more than $50 on it. It just has like a programmable function and you set
That
it.
is awesome.
So every night after, like when I'm done cleaning up the kitchen after dinner, I just put the coffee in and it is ready to go in the morning. So invest, it will change your life. I bet Amazon can get that to you in the next 72 hours.
Yep.
They're on a bit of a delay.
They are on a bit of a delay.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is.
Yeah. So you said you're working like 9 to 3. Is that like mostly like synchronous classes or planning homework, or what does that look like?
Yeah, it's a mix of things. So my synchronous classes are optional because I have a lot of students who are working or have, different technology issues. So Every now and then I might do a mandatory one with a lot of advance notice, and someone can exempt out of it if they need to. But in most of my classes, we have at least a couple optional synchronous things a week that we then record and post for those who weren't able to. And then the rest of the time, I'm making narrated PowerPoints, creating assignments, grading things. I am really not doing any scholarship or research right now. The movement to teaching online has been hard for me, so it's kind of taking all of my time.
Mm. Were you doing any scholarship or research before the pandemic happened?
I was, yeah. I have a book chapter that's in draft form and it needs revisions. It's about the role of empathy in our current political climate for a book on that's coming out on populism and intellectual virtues. So I need to work on revising that. And I need to work on some projects related to the research that I do on interfaith studies, thinking about the newest project that Marian Larson and I are starting. I was thinking about the three concepts of faith, hope, and love, and how each one of those is a motivator towards building interfaith relationships. So yeah, that stuff's interesting. So maybe I'll pick it up this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you had any ideas for maybe future research or different questions that you've been mulling around during this time? Has the pandemic, quarantine, what's happening in America kind of sparked any ideas for you as a philosopher?
Yeah, a couple. So Sam Mulberry and I, like right in one of the very first weeks of stay-at-home order, did a Sarah Shady Public Philosopher podcast on Camus' book, The Plague, which was written in the 1940s, but is so relevant to life in 2020. And in that conversation, like Sam helped me realize an insight into Camus I'd never had before, which is about Camus as in that novel placing an emphasis on the importance of interpersonal relationships, whereas most existentialists are very individualistic. And Camus, for example, is very individualistic in The Stranger. But anyways, I've my one of my big career trajectories has been on looking at issues of community in the existentialists. And so Sam has like paved a whole new research path for me on that. So that's something that I'm looking forward to, sort of in thinking about, if we're thinking about what does it mean to be human, how we can't fully answer that question outside of meaningful relationships with other people. And I think for me, being in the stay-at-home order in Minnesota has, on the one hand, helped me kind of revalue the importance of my family relationships and my personal identity, and also makes me feel so painfully the lack of face-to-face contact with other people who are really important in my life. So it's an interesting time to think about the role that other people play in our own existence.
Yeah. So after this is all over, whenever that is, whether it be in a month or 3 years or forever, do you think that there's going to be a net positive change on how humans, especially Americans, look at those interpersonal relationships because they've been taken away? Or do you think we're going to just right away go back to heads down, going to work every day?
That is a great question. And unfortunately, I think as human beings, we're really good at forgetting things. And it's easy to fall back into our patterns. And so I think we're going to have to be really intentional and mindful about keeping some of these lessons that we've learned about the value of slowing time down and allowing that time to be spent in meaningful ways with the people around us. But I don't think it's going to just happen naturally.
Yeah. And you kind of perfectly segued into our topic for this podcast, which is boredom, with slowing things down.
Yes.
So with you working 9 to 3 and doing a lot of stuff, are you experiencing boredom during this time at all? Or are you kind of figuring out everything to do?
Totally experiencing boredom. And when I say I work from 9 to 3, I work from like 9 to 9:24, and then somebody needs something for their homework. And then I work from like 9:55 to 10:07, and I decide to take a shower, right? So don't picture me at a desk with 6 straight productive hours. But yeah, I think that I'm really working hard on trying to see boredom as a good thing. It's funny because I always tell my kids that, like, be bored, like, go in the yard and find something to do. But I have to learn how to do that too. I am totally a workaholic. I really enjoy work, I enjoy researching, and I don't have a lot of hobbies. So I've actually been trying to come up with hobbies during this time.
So what have you come up with?
Well, I have started doing watercolor painting. This all started early on when we were all trying to figure out how to move courses online. I was talking to Amanda Hamilton, who's a professor in the art department, and she was talking about YouTube painting tutorials she was making for a class she teaches on foundations of color. And I was like, ooh, could I use your tutorials? So she shared them with me on YouTube. And so I started, painting along with Amanda Hamilton's tutorials. And now I've gone down a rabbit hole of other painting tutorials on YouTube. And I'm spending quite a lot of time doing watercolor painting, which is really fun. And I kind of am better at it than I thought I would be. So for an amateur painter, I'm not claiming to be at Amanda Hamilton's level by any means.
So do you have your kids do that with you too?
I don't. One of my partly because for my own mental health, it's like my thing I get to do by myself. One of my kids is an artist, and so I keep inviting him to paint with me, but he kind of likes to do his own thing too. So yeah, right now it's just me.
It's nice.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think whenever I think about boredom, I think back to like being a kid, and you would always hear like only boring people get bored, or like you can always find something to do. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think boredom is a choice? Do you think it happens to everybody? Can you always find something to do? What do you think about that?
I think boredom is a negative label we put on a normal period of being human, right? So I think in post-industrialized society, we've sort of trained ourselves to never be bored because there's always something we should be doing next. But I think boredom is just really spaces of time without a clear task assigned to them. It's funny because one of the best philosophical pieces I know about boredom was written by Kierkegaard in his book Either Or. And in the book Either Or, he's contrasting two different ways of life, like the aesthetic person who's always pursuing pleasure and never stopping in that pursuit, and then the ethical person, which follows the kind of moral law and duty and obligation. And he's got this chapter on what he calls crop rotation in talking about the life of the aesthetic person. And like the worst thing for the person always pursuing pleasure is boredom, right? Because that seems like that's the cessation of pleasure. So the aesthetic person has to come up with this way of continually rotating the crops or rotating, various pieces of his life so as to never get bored. But it's really fun to talk about that chapter with students because when you start to see, like, by default, none of us read the aesthetic as like actually a good idea for how to live your life. And so then we start to think about, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be trying to always push boredom out of our lives. Like, what if you actually thought about boredom as actually an invitation to slow down, an invitation to try something new, like watercolor painting, an invitation for a nap, an invitation to pick up a book, an invitation to write someone a handwritten note. Like, I think boredom just has a negative label to empty time. And we've started, we sort of live in a society where people feel guilty for having empty time. But I think that's actually a pretty harmful way to live.
Yeah, I think especially during the pandemic, I know I've struggled with if I'm not like extremely productive for a day. Like,
Yes.
I feel like I've failed because I see these days where I don't have synchronous classes and I have all this time that I could be writing a memoir or like doing all this stuff. But then I reach the end of the day and it's such a psychologically taxing time right now that, like, yeah, obviously we're probably not going to be as productive as we want to be.
Exactly. And that's sort of one of those, as we were talking about, like, will we remember the lessons that we're learning? I feel like that's another thing that we're probably likely to forget. You know, like, why was I not doing watercolor painting before? Well, because my life was a continual, like, race run from teaching and work to sitting at soccer games to getting kids from this practice or that school event. I was spending like half of my life in my car just driving kids around, and it's like, how do we put normalcy back in life but still learn some of the meaningfulness of this openness of time that we've had? And I think part of that is sort of training ourselves to not feel guilty for unproductive time, to actually see that as a gift, to see that as a really healthy space, and to stop feeling guilty about it.
Yeah. So what advice, this is the last question that I'll have. What advice do you have for students out there? I think a lot of Bethel students would probably call themselves like workaholics, or like they need to achieve things. They need to check things off of to-do lists. I know that I'm like that a lot. What advice do you have for them, those people who are thinking that boredom is failure right now?
I would say, ask yourself a question along the lines of, like, if you imagine yourself at the end of your day, what will you say? I'm really thankful that I spent time blank today, right? And my guess is it's not going to be, I am really thankful for the 4 hours I had to work on my research paper. I mean, maybe. Well, I don't want to undermine the academic stuff because we learn really interesting things and we love to be curious, and that's good too, right? It might be, I'm really thankful I learned this really cool thing. But I think so often we just turn academic work into a checklist, the to-do list, right? And that's not what's really putting gratitude into our heart at the end of the day. I think we're more likely to say, wow, I'm really happy that I learned how to bake something new today, or I'm really happy that I spent a half an hour outside listening to birds and getting fresh air, or I'm really happy that I taught myself to paint flowers, or like, what are you going to what do you want your day to be like, so that you can think about being thankful for the things you did that were off the to-do list.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Oh yeah. No, it's
So
super fun to talk
inspiring.
about this stuff.
Yeah, it is. I think it's important stuff.
It
So
is.
thank you so much, Dr. Shady, for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I got a this needs to. And this comes from when I was going to school in Madison at the University of Wisconsin. Intramural dodgeball at Bethel needs to start.
Yeah, 100%.
It is really fun. Because right now, like, Bethel intramurals are kind of weak. Like,
yeah, what's the winter one that everyone likes? Broom ball?
broom ball?
I don't do that.
You're not a broom ball fan?
I think that's a big thumbs down. Sounds like way too many injuries.
Have you never played?
I think I've played boot hockey or broom ball, one of the two. I'm not a
Yeah.
big, like, ice and boots person. I think it's a bad mix. Like, I'm not a clumsy person, but I think that a lot of injuries can happen out there.
Oh, wait, you hate hockey, don't you?
I don't like hockey. I don't hate it. Like, it's
Well,
just
I
not my
remember-
favorite thing to watch. And no, I don't want my children to play hockey because
Yeah, that was your biggest fear as a future parent, is your children wanting to play hockey.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to watch it.
No.
That is super surprising to me. You seem like somebody who would be really into like everything Minnesota, including hockey. And I feel
No,
like you
I'm
would
all for
be
the lakes and stuff, but
all for the lakes, but not the cold and the boots.
no. I
Huh.
think we have some good. Like, okay, basketball. I don't even know girls who play intramural basketball.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna ask like do girls play basketball?
Oh, no, no,
Like
no, no, no.
a
But
big
I think,
question.
like, do they have girl teams? And can they play against the boy teams, or how does that work? Because volleyball,
I
it's everyone plays, which is fun.
yeah,
I do volleyball. But basketball, I think, would be fun if it was boys and girls.
like co-ed teams.
Yes.
I think all intramural sports should be that.
Yeah.
I have no idea how intramural basketball works at Bethel. I played in one game once.
Okay.
A bunch of Clarion people. You remember
Oh,
Scott's
yeah.
Talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I played like one time. But I think what they did in Madison for dodgeball, which I'll get into
Yeah.
this. One, dodgeball is just a great time. Like it does not take a lot of skill and it's
No.
always fun. Like
And
you're just
everyone's
throwing,
competitive. Yeah.
dodging, catching. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna and also like
That's very true. It isn't a lot of
it's
skill. We should for sure have that. Because
yeah,
I
it's
think kids wanna do stuff, but sometimes if you're not good at volleyball or basketball, like, it's hard to get on a team, or, like, your friends won't want you to play or something. Like, yeah, that's a good idea.
it is. Thank you. I think another thing with dodgeball is there are like so few opportunities to get like way too competitive or like angry at the other team. I think there's one, and it's like
Mhm.
those jokers who say that they're still in when they got hit. Like that's
Oh,
that's the only time in dodgeball that people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're horrible. You're cheating."
yeah.
But like people in like at Bethel, intramural sports at Bethel, you know how there's like that select few people that go through every intramural sport and they're way too competitive about it?
Yeah.
Like to a point where if they lose, they will either like completely deny it or like their whole day will be ruined. And
Oh,
they'll be
yeah.
like,
And then they ruin
dude,
everyone else's day.
yeah, like dude, and then
Yep.
they like
I
there
had
are
someone on
people
my team like that. Her name is
yeah.
Abby Poulin. She is the worst.
Calling her out. That's your roommate, right?
Yes. But she would literally not talk to us the rest of the night if we lost at volleyball.
What the heck?
I know.
Come on. That's
Like,
not
I'm
how it
sorry. Drive.
But another thing that they did at Madison, which I think is a really good way, they split the leagues up into 3. So you got a
Yeah.
team together, and you could either play in the recreational league, you could play in the
Or in the
competitive league,
competitive.
or there was a third league that
Oh,
was
the elite.
competitive men's. So it was
I don't know
all
if
male.
that's right.
Well, and here's my thing, because usually I would see that and I would think, man, that
That is just
sucks.
saying
It should be
men
competitive
are better.
co-ed.
Yeah.
It's not saying men are better. It's
Okay.
saying this. If you have everybody play, if you take everybody at Bethel
Mhm.
and you put people in intramural dodgeball leagues and there's competitive co-ed, there's gonna be a team of
Of all
the
boys.
biggest dudes at
Yeah.
Bethel that are hucking dodgeballs faster than anyone can huck them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they're just hucking them faster than the girls. A lot of girls can throw a dodgeball way faster than I can. But if you get a team of those guys who want to go super hard and
That's
launch
true.
dodgeballs at people's heads,
Yeah, they've stocked their team to just be mean.
yeah, they stock their team just to be like a bunch of big dudes. I think it's nice that there is a league that they can go to
For those
and then
animals.
exactly, and then they can have fun, because
Yeah.
one, it's not fun for the people who are playing against those guys if you get drilled in the head and they're playing like way harder than everybody, and then it's also
Yeah.
not fun for those guys as well because they're playing against a team where people don't like their attitude.
Yeah.
Which this gets into the thing, like I've never liked the term try hard Like,
No.
that freaking try hard. Like, they're people just like doing their best, and some people have fun by trying to win and trying to like do a good job. And I think that people saying try hard is like really, I stop saying that. But I think intramural dodgeball.
Is born with the talents of throwing the dodgeball at 60 miles per hour. You need to try for that. So
and also
making fun of people.
Yeah, if somebody wants to go really hard in intramural dodgeball, as long as they're being respectful, as long as they're not like boasting about it and like prancing around the court when they hit somebody in the face, like then it's fine.
Okay, so I have a question for this men's competitive elite team or elite section. Is there like a height and weight limit? Because like what if a girl is just wanting to join? Like maybe if she was 6 feet tall, she could join, Is there any limits or no?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure you can call up the University of Wisconsin and ask them, because the reason why I trust this on like an ethical level is it's the University of Wisconsin, which is like incredibly woke and progressive and liberal. So like they're not doing anything that is like questionable for like gender roles and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there were like examples in the past where people got hurt or people, it just wasn't working. And then they said
something must have happened.
Maybe this will work. But yeah, we'll wrap this up, but we should do intramural dodgeball at Bethel. It'll be super fun.
Okay, so next up, we have Jared Martinson, Bethel University senior and sports editor emeritus.
There it is.
Nice.
That's right.
You got it right.
I can say big words. Thank you for coming, Jared.
Yeah. Hey, I haven't been on since, what was that? Maybe October, November. We were talking about sports, and I'm happy to be back. I listen as much as I can to you guys. It's been fun to follow along even during quarantine. So, and even though I can't necessarily see Zach's face in clear fashion on the video call here, but I'm excited to be here, and I miss you guys.
Yeah. Just imagine the most attractive man you've ever seen, and you just that's what it looks like.
Zach, if you were half as attractive as your writing style, you would have women all over you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm flattered.
Yeah, Zach, your most recent column I read last night, and I just like aspire to be like you. You are amazing.
Thank you. Wow.
Seconded.
That really, really, really means a lot.
It's just cool to even know you.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Well, we'll end the podcast there. Thanks for coming on, Jared.
There.
Not as cool as knowing the sports editor emeritus of the Bethel Clarion.
Not.
But I mean,
yes, that's true. That's true.
It's really not.
Okay, Jared,
ahead,
what
Abby.
have you been doing? Oh, sorry. What mindless things have you been doing?
During quarantine, mindless things. I guess today's a great example. I've been watching the Star Wars marathon on TV because it's May 4th.
Oh, heck yeah.
And honestly, like, I've seen them enough times now, like more than I ever could possibly count, that half the time I'm not even really watching. I'm usually doing something else. So it's good background for me, just while I'm doing something else. But I guess that's my mindless highlight. I don't know. The other stuff I'm doing isn't that productive either. But I don't know. I'm finding ways to try to keep myself busy with things that are not homework.
Yeah.
I think watching or having a show or something in the background, and it's something you've seen and it's something you know, like for some reason makes you more productive with things. Like I'll have The Office on or some show I've seen when I'm doing homework, and I'm so productive, and I don't know why. I don't know if I'm not interested in it or if it's just good background noise to have. I'm not somebody that can listen to music because I just sing the whole time and not be focused. So I think that's awesome.
I actually, most of my background noise is I've created audiobooks of all of Zach Walker's feature pieces.
Oh,
And I have those on repeat in the background to soothe me and to really just up my creative juices.
yeah.
Did you record them using an impression of my voice?
I found a way to simulate your voice. Actually, I use Joe Heedy as my so he really made it work for me.
Oh, that's hilarious. I cannot connect with the having a show on in the background while I work.
Okay.
I've never been able to have anything with words on in the background while I do something that also requires me to think about words. So like if I'm reading or writing, I cannot have lyrical music on, and I cannot have a show that like calms me down on, which that show is The Office. It's my favorite show ever. But like if I have that on, I'm just gonna watch it and laugh a lot because it's great.
Right.
But I have to do like ambient soundtracks and like peaceful piano Spotify playlists and stuff.
For me, I like to kind of going back to the Star Wars thing. I'll have a big playlist of all the soundtracks running in the background, but then sometimes that's a double-edged sword because then I've seen the movie so many times they're burned in my head. I can actually see what's going on while it's happening. So it can be good sometimes, it can be bad sometimes.
Yes, I completely agree with that. I had a time last year where I really got into listening to movie soundtracks, and I would get like I had the Shawshank Redemption soundtrack saved, and that's my favorite movie ever. It's the best movie of all time. And whenever one of those songs came on, I had to skip it because I knew exactly what scene was going on, and it's like really distracting.
Yeah.
So Jared, you're a senior.
Yes.
So what like big things do you have coming up? Do you have like huge projects, any big life stuff? What's going on?
Life stuff up the wazoo, honestly. School's on it. School. I'm going to get done in the next 2 weeks, and I feel pretty good about it. But this summer is a summer of change. I am currently scheduled to get married in August. And that's been a whirlwind of stuff with who knows what happening in the next few months. Like we literally just don't know where we're going to be at. So there have been conversations about how to approach that moving forward. And then on top of that, finding a job, applying for a lot of things, and then as well looking for housing. Like where am I going to live with my future wife? You know, that all that stuff is kind of on the table right now. So that's where a lot of my focus has been. That's where a lot of my stress has been. So my mind hasn't really been bored. I know that's the theme of this podcast, but I think I'm really trying to find ways to bore myself to like numb that down a little bit. So I guess that's kind of been the dynamic between being bored and also being so preoccupied with things to do that I don't know what I should be doing, you know?
Interesting. Okay. So it's like your head is like always buzzing. It's always going. So you need something to like calm you down. You need to just like sit and look at a wall or something.
I need a distraction. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What are your go-to Oh, go ahead, Abby.
No, I was just going to say, I think people who have those big events coming up, like a wedding or have something going on this summer, I think that stress is really weighing on them right now with everything going on in the world because everything keeps getting pushed back. We have no idea what the world is going to be like this summer. No idea. I mean, Who knows if at the 4th of July we'll get to have a bunch of people up at the cabin or get to celebrate with.
Here's something, Jared, that you might not know. On a earlier podcast, Abby mentioned that every 4th of July, she has, get ready, 50 to 70 people at her cabin.
No, they're not at my cabin.
Exactly.
We have 50 to 70 at the little potluck we have.
A little potluck, 50 to 70.
Exactly. Well, it's like one thing of potato salad and like a plate of sandwiches. That's it.
Is that how you grocery shop for the year? You have everyone bring something, and then that's just the cabin ration for the entire year.
But no, you brought up a good point, Abby.
Yeah.
We have no idea if
and that's
we're going to be able to do
stressful.
our potluck.
Yeah. I mean,
we're going to be able to do our potluck.
I think about like people that might want to postpone whatever their plans are if they're not going to happen this summer. But you're like, how do you know? Are you going to have to postpone it again if you move it back a month or 2 months or whatever it might be? So there's just no real end in sight necessarily, which sounds really, really dark, but
no,
it's
true though. I've seen people do like virtual weddings, which I personally like think that takes away so much from the whole idea of it. So I think that those are big decisions to make, and that's a lot to handle when school's still going on and you're looking for a job. So you're not bored.
No.
You need to be bored right now.
Absolutely.
You're looking for boredom.
Virtual weddings, I guess I haven't heard about those. I can kind of picture it. Are the bride and groom together?
Yes.
At least?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. I was picturing like everyone's on their own Google Hangout square, and then after the wedding, they just like sign off and go sit and watch TV or something.
No, yeah, it's most of the stuff I've seen is like you invite all the people to a Facebook group, and then you go live in that group for all the people that are not there. So you might have some critical people in person, but mostly it's like a private viewing party.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Interesting. So are you right now for your wedding? Are you you're fully planning on August? Like what are your backup plans if say the virus like keeps going?
Yeah, I mean, we as of this very moment, it's still on for August, but that could change in tomorrow. I don't know. Things are just so fluid right now. So we're thinking maybe moving it up and doing it smaller, maybe just so we can get it done and don't have to worry about it. But that also might interfere with timing of finding a place to live and all these things. So, and if I don't have a job, it'd be hard to pay for a place to live and all that. There's just so many dominoes falling. And that would kind of coincide with each other that where everything's open right now, really.
Yeah.
So if you move, how big is your wedding to begin with, do you think?
We
50 to 70 people at your cabin.
Yeah, we're doing it up at your cabin, actually. We've invited about 150 people.
Oh, okay. So then if you move it up, you're going to try and do it smaller and still do like some type of a ceremony thing?
Yeah, it would be much smaller. Not sure what the guest list count might look like. You just don't know. So,
what did that process look like? You and your fiance inviting people to the wedding, because 150 seems like a wild number.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes sense because you think about like, oh, like my dad wants to invite all of the people that he knew in high school. Or how did you decide who not to invite? How did you decide, like, what was that?
Yeah, it was a narrowing down process, like making a couple categories for everybody. So obviously the wedding party and the families were on there, and then friends for both of us that must be invited, friends that might be invited, and then they're kind of on the bubble, waiting for that NCAA selection show to see if their logo will pop up. Sorry, no, we're not that elite, but so it was some of that, and then our families and maybe inviting some key non-relatives too. But we had a Google Sheet going and shared with everybody, and it was fun to separate that. I'm a Google Sheet snob, and I enjoy organizing that stuff. So, I mean, it didn't take as long as I thought it would, or it wasn't honestly as hard as I thought it would be. But you just got to figure out where to draw the line.
Sure. So that's how you're finding your boredom activities is Google Sheets.
Oh, actually, I've been waiting to tell people about this. I mean, I can't give it all away because it might get stolen. But for the past 3 years, one of my best friends and I have been developing a very rudimentary, probably means nothing, advanced basketball statistic. And I have 70 years of NBA stats in a Google Drive folder in spreadsheet, multiple tabs. It goes all the way back to 1992. single seasons, individual players, all types of things that are on and like I said, like this stat might not mean one thing. It might be just like a conglomerate of random stuff put together that turns out a number that we think looks cool. But that's actually something that has been taking up some boredom time for me, is going through that and organizing and calculating and just a bunch of stuff that probably doesn't mean anything and would get rejected by the Sloan Sports Analytics Conference. But it's been fun, and it's been a way for me and my buddy to keep connected. He goes to William and Mary in Virginia, and we've seen each other more than 4 times in our 4 years in person. But that was something that really got to keep us together, and now it's something that's a placeholder for my boredom.
Sure.
Awesome.
So can you tell us the stat, or would that give away your whole idea?
It might give away some. Basically, we just want an accurate representation of a player's efficiency and how much they contribute to winning while they're on the floor, combined with rewarding longevity at a high level.
Okay.
Wow.
I can share with you off air at some point, maybe.
Yeah. What a great way to kill boredom. Our listeners out there, if you want some boredom, just make up a basketball stat and work on it for 4 years, and that'll do it.
It did start with the question. So, hey, I'm a big fan of senior seminar research, and I want to make sure that what we're doing is answering a question, and our question is very valid, and I'm proud of where from that point.
Heck yeah. All right. Thanks for coming on, Jared. It was a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I have deep questions about boredom, but I also have this question. What do you think the worst Christmas song is?
This is tough. I have for sure the best Christmas song in my head right now. It is The First Noel by Josh Groban.
Okay. That's a very suburban. What do you mean? What? Josh Groban is not a one-hit wonder.
I know. He's amazing. He was in The Office. He's Andy's brother.
He is Andy's brother. He's also an incredibly talented vocalist. Raise Me Up.
And it's him. It's with Faith Hill as well. It is the best. I play it all year round. Everyone hates it for some reason.
Every day.
Oh yeah. Everyone in my car, anytime I play it, are you kidding me? They hate it, but I love it. I think it might be I think it's just because it's overplayed, but All I Want for Christmas.
It's a bop.
It is, but I think it's just overplayed.
You're saying that's the worst one?
Yeah, I think it's overplayed.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
I don't know.
That's a statement right there.
I know. It's never something like when you want to listen to Christmas music, it's not something you click on, is it? Like I would rather listen to Frank Sinatra or Brett Eldridge. He's a country music singer. He has a pretty good Christmas album. Michael Bublé. Okay. I like him. Kelly Clarkson. Yeah, I just wouldn't.
Mariah's All I Want for Christmas.
I have her on my Christmas playlist, but I just wouldn't. I don't know.
You're not scrolling down to select that.
Amy Grant. I like her.
You're saying a lot of names that I've never heard of before.
Amy Grant's older. I'm so sorry. You have
a deep knowledge of old Christmas musicians.
Yes. The Wilson sisters. Hey Santa. That's a really good one.
Hey Santa? Is that another sexually charged Santa song?
It is.
Of course it is.
Why do we keep making these? I don't know. And my mom played that in the car on our way to elementary school, Rush Creek Elementary. Go Raccoons.
No way. Really? It was your mascot was the raccoon?
Rush Creek Raccoons. It's the best. It's the best elementary school here. We have a lot, but it's the best. We're kind of all in competition.
Go Raccoons.
Do you have a least favorite?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know it. You know it for sure.
I do.
Okay.
I do. So the worst Christmas song musical, like musically, is the 12 Days of Christmas.
Okay.
Just horrible.
Yeah.
Like it takes so long to sing, and it's so unbelievably repetitive, and it just talks about birds, and that's it. But somehow we love it because we love rounds. Like people love singing songs that are just like the same thing over and over again at Christmas time, especially my family. My mom, like 5 years ago, started doing this thing with her side of the family where we all went to a nursing home and we sang Christmas songs, and we always sang 12 Days of Christmas for some reason, and it took an hour. And one of my great aunts would like go really, really high on the 5 golden rings part, and we'd all stop and let her solo it. And it was really exciting. But the worst Christmas song of all time is Christmas Shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what Christmas Shoes is?
Yeah. I never listened to it during Christmas, so yeah.
The song itself is like fine. It sounds fine. The lyrics are just like, we don't need this. This is not something we need. For everybody who doesn't know what Christmas Shoes is, it is from the perspective of a child whose mom is dying of a terminal illness, and he's poor because why wouldn't he be? And he's in a shoe store trying to buy shoes for his dying mother so she looks pretty when she meets Jesus tonight.
Why are Christmas songs kind of sad? Also, I forgot a great Christmas song, which is Hard Candy Christmas, Dolly Parton. If anyone, you need to hear it. It's great.
Hard Candy Christmas?
Yes.
Is that a Candy Crush specific Christmas song?
No. It's just great. I've listened to that since I was like in 3rd grade too. My mom's a really good influence on me.
Do you like when you're at Christmas sing-alongs or Christmas parties, are you requesting these songs? Like everybody's like, Jingle Bells, rocking around the Christmas tree.
No.
Hey, how about Hard Candy Christmas by Dolly Parton? Let's listen to that.
Christmas songs are sad, aren't they? Some of them.
I mean, some, not a majority of them, but some of them are. And then there's effing Christmas Shoes, which is just so unnecessarily depressing.
Yeah.
Like the writer's room was like, you know what people want? They want to cry more. They want to know that like people are out there dying of cancer
during Christmas. And maybe that's something that people needed to hear. I think that's like not that old of a song, is it?
No, it's
like
not.
2000s.
It needs to go away. It needs to be not a song anymore.
Okay.
Well, obviously we're bored in quarantine because we just spent like 7 minutes talking about Christmas songs. So hit me with a boredom question, then we'll wrap this sucker up.
Do you think being bored means that your imagination just isn't as advanced as others?
Dude, I think that's a really sad question to think about. Like, I think about that a lot.
I do too.
Because I think of myself as a very creative and imaginative person. And then when I'm bored, I'm like, what? Am I wrong? Am I broken? Are there people out there who are like making paper mache cranes? And like, I could be doing that?
Yeah.
But I don't think so. I think we heard what Sarah Shady said. It was like really
amazing,
insightful. Yeah. That it's just like a human thing. Like, I don't think there's any person out there who's like their mind is always occupied with something in every single moment of every single day.
Yeah.
I just think that's impossible to do.
And I think I really liked how she talked about it being an invitation. Being bored is an invitation to do something new, which is so cool that she says that. And I will look at being bored completely different, even though I'm not super bored ever. But that's so cool how she would think of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really, really good way of thinking of it. Because boredom's always been said with a negative connotation.
Yes.
It's always been like, oh, I'm so bored. It's horrible. I'm just going to. Yes. But I think what is bad about boredom is how people utilize it. Because I think a lot of times people will utilize it. Here's my boomer talking again.
Yes.
They'll just utilize it to just like go on their phones. and because it's easy and it doesn't take a lot of like mental effort, and that's fine. Sometimes we just want to chill out and like scroll through social media.
Yes.
That's not bad at all. But I think if people started looking at boredom not as a disease or like some deficiency in your brain, and more as like, hey, this is an opportunity that I can go and do something that'll relax me right now. Go and do something that I really enjoy. So yeah, I think we should kind of reframe how we think about boredom.
You've been listening to Life Is, a podcast from the Clarion, Bethel University's national award-winning student publication. We'd like to thank our producer, Sam Mulberry, and Vince Vaughn for starring in the greatest sports movie of all time.
The Clarion still publishes stories every day online at BethelClarion.com. Right now, check out our Quarantine TFTB video series, where Bethel students share their thoughts on the pandemic over Google Hangouts.
Please tell the people in your life about Life Is, which drops Monday and Friday until we run out of things to say.
Because ultimately, life is people. So tell Jared's fiance.
And tell the pregnant cows at the state fair.
And tell the poor child buying shoes in your department store.
And tell all the vendors at your local gun show.